Okay, so I got this lovely piece. It's a treadmill, and obviously I'm kind of like already pretty far through the teardown. Threw off a bunch of plastic shit. And really only got it because I figured this motor would be a little beefier. But as I got in here, I saw that it's clearly a pretty cheap piece of crap. Usually these are a lot more complex on the inside, but this one's just got this tiny little anemic motor that barely move you if it wanted to. A really light flywheel with a wide radius, which I think is how they are compensating for that. It's made as cheaply as possible. This was on there with 2 screws. You know, just like this, it's all crusty. I mean, it's not really very good. It's got these cheap ass connectors, which are working right now, but generally speaking are just the worst. You know, and they're using them for splices too, which is just depressing. But we got a good chunk of copper up in here. What else did we get? We got tucked back in that little thing was a wiring diagram, just like from the factory. And then I opened this up, and I noticed that it fucking has never worked. So this is the incline control. It rotates this, this motor rotates this gearbox, rotates this pinion, which this linear actuator, this rack, which moves this entire chassis, which moves these wheels back and forth on the ground, which is obviously the cheapest way to do that, instead of using like a rotary 2 linear actuator that's made to actually carry some weight. No. Not for this most cheap piece of crap, but it was free, so I'm not really complaining. It's light as all hell, because they were trying to save on material costs, so I actually appreciate that. This motor, even though it's tiny, I think it'll be good for something. It still works, at least. This is interesting. It's got a little Hall effect sensor coming up in here to read the actual rotating speed of the post transmission. You know, it's not reading, I assume that it's reading both the motor speed and this speed, so it can sense if there's slippage. But based on the simplicity of this board, I mean, let's see if there's even a confuser on it. I mean, it just looks like old school, I mean, resistors, LEDs. We got a couple Variac, whatever that motherfucker is. I mean, these are capacitors, obviously, but whatever this yellow guy is. Got a diode in there. Royal 5-watt, I don't know, ceramic capacitors, I believe. And then those are the MOSFETs on this heatsink, and then the whole thing is cased in a heatsink, which I think is just silly. Although it makes sense because it's just a fucking huge resistor bank. But I'm not seeing a real good computer in here. It's just a lot of resistors. So actually, the more I think about it, it doesn't know if the belt is slipping. It's just feeding this motor a certain frequency, and then reading the output. So it's not that smart, but we could hack it and make it smarter. But I think I'm gonna use this motor for a forearm for a robot. Like, I think it probably has about the same amount of torque as a forearm, proportional to the rest of the components of this robot. Anyway, so we're gonna get this thing apart, fuck it up, and at least get ourselves a new tail to plug into the wall. Yeah, but everything's cheap. It's PVC on the actual out cord. Doesn't say anything on it, which is suspect that it's not nice, and it also just feels like PVC. You know, all these cheap, not even braided, stranded wire gauge 6, American wire gauge, no, 18. 6 would be gigantic. Yeah, so that's that.